This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
In Nigeria, jihadists kill 5 soldiers and kidnap 35 civilians in separate attacks. The African Union Commission calls for talks to end Kenya-Somalia tensions. And the UK imposes emergency restrictions over a new, faster-spreading strain of the coronavirus. Hello and a warm welcome to Africa Live on CGTN. I'm Lindy Mtongana in Nairobi. Also coming up this half hour. A study shows carbon emissions in South Africa increased by 1.5% in 2019. We start the program in Nigeria, where 5 soldiers have been killed after jihadists ambushed a military convoy. According to military sources, their convoy was hit outside of Mafa in the northeastern part of Borno State on Saturday. The militants also attacked another convoy in the same region on Friday, in that instance abducting at least 30 people and killing 1 woman. A splinter group from Nigeria's Boko Haram sect called the Islamic State West Africa Province has been blamed for both incidents. Well, let's stay in Nigeria. Some of the boys freed after being kidnapped in the country's northwest have now been speaking out about their ordeal in the hands of their abductors. CGTN's Joy Kiruki with the details.
16-year-old Anas Shuaibu is happy to be back home. He is among the 344 students kidnapped from a school in northwest Nigeria. He recounts the events of that fateful day when they woke to the sound of gunshots in the all-boarding school.
We were seated until daylight faded. Then they started shooting guns into the air. One of them came and stood in front of us and said, "Let's move." We reached a place after a certain time and they said we should stop there. They said even if we tried to escape or they allowed us to run, we would go nowhere. Rather, we would die in the forest.
The boys were held for 6 days before security services rescued them from Rungu Forest on Thursday. The boys received little food. They sometimes resorted to eating leaves and drinking from pools of water in the forest. The parents have since become fearful.
Nobody will send back his son in that school without proper security. I don't expect if there is anybody, unless when the government do something, then we leave everything to God again. That we have been leaving it for God, to God.
14-year-old Mohammed Bello cannot hide his joy. He too was among the boys rescued.
I am very happy and excited to meet my friends and everyone at home, and now that I have returned home, I will continue playing and doing what I like. I am very happy and I thank God.
While Boko Haram claimed responsibility, many details surrounding the kidnapping remain unclear. The rising insecurity in Nigeria has evoked memories of the 2014 kidnapping of over 270 schoolgirls in Chibok. Joy Kiruki Juma, CGTN.
AU Chairperson Musa Faki Mahamat has called for dialogue in de-escalating the row between Kenya and Somalia. He also urged IGAD member states to assist Ethiopia in dealing with the humanitarian crisis arising out of the conflict in the Tigray region. Mahamat was speaking to regional leaders in Djibouti at a summit convened by the Intergovernmental Authority on Development. The leaders from Kenya, Sudan, Djibouti, Somalia and Ethiopia attended the gathering. They were joined by representatives from South Sudan and Uganda.
The recent tension between Somalia and Kenya, 2 neighboring countries, which led to the breakdown of diplomatic relations, remain a serious concern for the African Union. I would therefore like to call on the 2 parties to open dialogue with a view to the resumption of these relations and ask IGAD to strongly encourage them in this regard. Kenya, it should be noted, is a troop contributing country to AMISOM and hosts a large community of Somali refugees. I am convinced that the long-standing and strong links between the two countries and peoples can overcome the current challenges.
South Africa has officially entered into a second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. The country instituted new lockdown regulations in 3 areas: the Eastern Cape, the Garden Route District in the Western Cape, and KwaZulu-Natal. This has had an almost immediate effect on the airlines and tourism sectors. Coppola has more.
The airline and tourism sectors are still scrambling to make up lost ground from the first hard lockdown, and Ramaphosa's recent announcement about a second wave is concerning.
We're very nervous about the second wave. I'll be honest with you. We have seen now with the airlines having to close a little bit earlier than before the last press conference, and we've seen a decrease in traffic, people cancelling flights, so we're very, very nervous. We're very nervous.
I think it will kill the little businesses, the small entrepreneurs, the SMMEs would probably go under, to be quite honest, because I don't think the tourism industry would withstand any more hard lockdown. It's been tough, it's been difficult. We hope that government will support us.
The local airlines are also a little anxious. Demand has gradually picked up, but the traditional summer holiday season hasn't taken off yet.
The second wave is obviously a massive concern to everybody across the country, and it will hit our industry quite hard. I think we are certainly seeing a softening of demand as a result of that, and it means quite different things for people looking to take their summer holidays now.
It's definitely been an alarm bell, I think, from a customer perspective, quite understandably. People have been out visiting some of the high infection rate areas, like, for example, the Eastern Cape. But there's also some resilience amongst the travelling public.
Nature of booking profile has changed entirely, so people seem to be booking later, which is quite difficult to manage your schedule. And I think it's people just worrying about perhaps impending lockdowns or access to the beach. But big demand very close to departure, which is unusual. Normally a December holiday is booked way, way in advance.
The new entrant into the domestic travel market is upbeat about the industry and the future.
Likewise, we're able to downscale if we need to, if demand isn't there. So flexibility is really the key. And for us, that's the name of the game. We need to be extremely flexible, extremely agile. And we also need to create flexibility for our customers who their plans are also changing.
I'm Angelo Coppola for CGTN at Plettenberg Bay in South Africa.
Meanwhile, in the UK, new tougher restrictions are being rolled out ahead of the Christmas holidays because of a new strain of the coronavirus. Nearly a third of the country's population fall under Prime Minister Johnson's stay-at-home orders. The move follows alarm at the speed at which they are spreading. Johnson says it's up to 70% more transmissible. The UK Health Secretary said travellers that are rushing out of London ahead of the new restrictions are being totally irresponsible. Well, the Netherlands and Belgium have banned all passenger flights from the UK in reaction to reports of this new variant of the coronavirus. The new strain is believed to spread faster and is more difficult to detect, but it doesn't appear to be more dangerous. The AFP news agency reports that Germany is also considering a flight ban from Britain and South Africa. Time now for a short break. Here's what's still ahead on the program. Carbon emissions in South Africa increased by 1.5% in 2019. And combating malaria, a local researcher in Cameroon develops an organic pesticide to kill mosquitoes. Africa is a continent of diversity, with varied climates and enchanting geography, and a people so distinct, but with a shared enduring spirit. We are at the heart of the continent to bring you the untold stories. Let's have a look. We celebrate Africa as it shapes its own destiny.
Tunis, Cairo,
Juba, Johannesburg,
Ethiopia, Tanzania.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
South Africa, Africa's worst polluter, saw a 1.5% increase in carbon emissions last year, according to a new study. Africa's most advanced economy contributes about 33% of the continent's steadily rising air pollution from fossil fuel combustion, oxidation and cement production. Angela Coppola has more.
The increase in South Africa's carbon emissions is despite commitments by government to curb air pollution as a way of managing global warming.
That spells disaster. Are we going to see the climate change-induced natural disasters like droughts, like flooding and fires increasing? And this we have experienced in the past years, and I don't think we even are prepared now for disaster management of that sort. And what's more worrying is that the ambient air quality it's going to increasingly also be at a wet state, and we also are experiencing that in South Africa.
To deal with the details in the Paris Agreement, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has appointed 22 members from a wide cross-section of society to the Presidential Climate Change Coordinating Commission.
That's something that we have to grapple with. It's not an overnight thing. It's just going to take a lot of time for us and to have robust discussions and also see what's happening on the ground.
South Africa's coal-fired power stations have created hotspots in the Highveld and Mpumalanga province, which have amongst the highest levels of nitrogen oxides and sulfur in the world.
We need a political will also to be able to change that situation, to move away from coal-generated electricity, but also to abandon any commissioning of coal capacity that is fully phasing out coal-fired power generation and not even thinking of fracking, not even thinking of gas, not even thinking of nuclear, because those cannot also be transitional electricity or transitional energy if we really want to have a net zero carbon emissions.
The conundrum facing South Africa is that it has vast resources in terms of coal that it uses to drive the electricity grid. On the other hand, it's made commitments to the Paris Agreement. Their solution is a just transition from coal to renewables. Only time will tell if it will actually work. I'm Angelo Coppola for CGTN in the Eastern Cape of South Africa.
To Cameroon, a local researcher and her team have developed an organic pesticide to combat the mosquitoes responsible for malaria. Agnes Antoinette Nduba's pesticide is the first 100% organic solution. CGTN's Joy Kuruki has more.
Agnes Ntuba is a doctoral student in animal biology at the University of Douala. The pesticide she has developed is made from nanoparticles derived from local plants. Ntuba's pesticide attacks mosquito larvae and is considered environmentally friendly.
We realized that most malaria studies were more focused on the adult mosquito to the detriment of the larvae. Our innovation is to use plants to combat mosquito larvae. We have a lot of effective plants in our country. In our research, it was important for us to value them. This is why we thought it was appropriate to create this biological larvicide, which will allow us to act efficiently in the fight against malaria.
Agnes Ntuba is among a small list of African female researchers in the area of science. She recently won the L'Oreal UNESCO Young Talent Award for Women in Science in Sub-Saharan Africa.
The UNESCO Young Talent Award prize is a great reward for Agnes, and it will encourage her to work even harder. This prize will also encourage all other women to show that women have an important role to play in the evolution of science and the development of their country.
Our project is long-term. We still have all the Cameroonian flora to exploit in order to push the research even further. We are also planning to organize workshops to raise awareness about wetlands and breeding sites. Indeed, many people know that it is the mosquito that is responsible for malaria, but they don't necessarily know where it comes from, where it lives and reproduces. I think people need to be educated on these issues.
In 2018, the WHO recorded 228 million cases of malaria worldwide. 93% of these cases are in Africa. According to Agnes Ntuba, the pesticide is ready for use and can make a huge contribution to reducing malaria cases. However, the lack of funding for large-scale production remains a major challenge. Joy Kiruki Juma, CGTN.
A coalition of Tanzanian non-governmental organizations fighting against gender-based violence has launched an app that helps victims report cases of abuse. Data on gender-based violence from the country's 2015-2016 Demographic and Health Survey shows that 44% of women between the ages of 15 and 49 have experienced either physical or sexual violence. CGTN's Isaac Lukando has more.
Mariam Mareba suffered physical and verbal abuse in her marriage. The 25-year-old lives with scars after her husband of many years poured hot water on her. Traumatized by her ordeal, she was fearful to report.
I was ignorant, and most of the time I pitied my children. I thought maybe we would change, but I was only hurting myself.
A new app called GBV Tarifa, or Information, is now making it easier for women like Mariam to report abuse to authorities. 4 out of 10 women in Tanzania reportedly experience gender violence, with many incidents going unreported. Those behind the app say they want to make justice more accessible.
We have connected the whole chain of justice, meaning the police, hospitals, the courts, all through to when one receives justice. We have social workers in hospitals whose work is to receive these people who have experienced gender-based violence. They know how to treat them differently from other patients, so this app gives them an opportunity to get help quickly.
Although reporting is a challenge, government statistics point to gender desks at police stations as having a positive impact. The number of reported gender-based violence crimes in Tanzania rose from 23,000 cases in 2015 to around 31,000 in 2016, an increase of 39%.
Tanzania's 2017-2022 National Plan of Action to End Violence Against Women and Children aims to increase the percentage of victims who report within 72 hours from 30% to 65%. The app's developers hope the application will increase conviction rates and the number of gender-based violence cases reported in the country.
Mariam's father says staying silent about his daughter's abuse has proven costly. However, he says ongoing reforms in the police force are encouraging victims to come forward.
If you go to the relevant authorities and state your case, the follow-up is not as it used to be, where you'd be asked to give a bribe. I believe that the authorities, like the police, are working well, and I believe they will help us.
The app's developers say the app may not be enough to end abuse. They believe changing harmful cultural practices is key in giving a voice to women like Mariam and helping them take steps towards a safer world. Isaac Lukando, CGTN, Dar es Salaam.
Sports news is still ahead on Africa.